How's it going? It's Kyle from the UA Playbook. Recently, I have called out some very constructive criticism remarks about our recent national events, and I have my reasons. I've been through plenty of card games in my life. This is not even Union Arena. That's just Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, um, Force Will. I don't have anything for that anymore, but I do have physical, tangible evidence of my prior accomplishments. I'm gonna have to figure out how to work it all in the video. But yeah, these are a couple of the decks that I used way back when. Obviously, they're no longer in the same deck boxes, but good old paper round. Good old Zoroark. Somewhere around here, I have Necros for Yu-Gi-Oh. I have Zodiac parts somewhere. ABC, so on and so forth. But the moral of the story is, this is the first time I have ever seen, not once, not twice, but at least 3 times, players that through the game. And I've watched a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh events. I've watched a lot of Pokemon events in my day, Dragon Ball events, Force of Will events. The list goes on. Generally speaking, if you don't think you have the game, you usually scoop. That's a pretty typical move. You don't throw the game, especially when you're on stream. If you're nervous, that's one thing. I get that. There's a lot of tricks and trades that you could do to relieve those nerves. Grab a drink, per se. You know, hey, feeling a little bit more flustered, need to calm down, reach underneath the table. Case in point, that's going to get you a little bit more in the zone again, make you not think as much about what you were doing, so on and so forth. Bottom line is, when you see game, what do you have to lose? Your integrity is what you have to lose if you throw it. And it doesn't look good. Because again, this isn't my first competitive card game that I've been in. I have friends that still play Pokemon. I have friends that still play Yu-Gi-Oh! To this very day. I have friends that still play other card games as well, some of which are not as popular anymore, but were once very popular, like Force of Will, Vanguard, so on and so forth. All of us, for my own friend community, I wish I could have a couple of them here with me, but, you know, they have their own lives. But I've had multiple conversations with these individuals, and some of which are like, well, that's kind of a deterrent for me to want to play the game. I mean, I take my game seriously. I'm a competitive player. Why the hell would I want to look up to somebody like that or watch their content or so on and so forth? And you don't know why would I want to play the game if people are just going to throw the game. It's kind of disrespectful to me as a player for somebody not playing to the fullest. And I don't disagree. I hate calling out anybody in particular, but like, I'm not going to say the name. I've said it before in a Facebook post, if that even matters. But regardless, when you have somebody drop Evangelion, Spear of Gaius in hand, and you've used your final, you're playing against a control player deck, and you don't rate it when you have the AP to do it, and you have the right target for it, and they have 2 life, you already have 1 Spear of Gaius out. The worst case scenario is they hit a 3K restand. Okay, that's concerning. Or they get a final. I get that. It can happen. But you don't know unless you give it your full all on that situation. If you just let your fears get the better of you, that's what costs you the game. And we saw that there. And that is not me throwing shade or anything like that. I've been in a lot of those positions before where I'm like, do I have it? Do I not? But regardless, if there is a possibility, I've done it. I can't think of a time where if I have a possibility of going for game, that I don't do it. Or at least attempt to do it. So yeah, that's very disheartening to see. The other situation that happened at Nats. Game 2 comes up. EVA player keeps an unplayable hand against Red Kenshin. I would 100% understand if he was relying on Top Deck. It was his first game. You know what I mean? That's 110% understandable. It's reasonable. It's understandable. You don't know what you're necessarily going into right away. Maybe he did. I mean, I would assume he would at that point because it's the finals. But either way, completely understandable for game one, maybe keeping an unplayable hand. But game two, and you know you're going against a very fast-paced aggro deck and keeping an unplayable hand, you kind of threw the game. This isn't me causing shade or anything else like that. It's called constructive criticism. And I don't understand why we as a community are not accepting of constructive criticism. If we could go work a 9 to 5 and your boss says, hey, do it this way, and not complain. Okay, as a competitive player, you should have complained about when people say, hey, especially when you're in the spotlight. By the way, you lose all that rights to not having constructive criticism when you're in the spotlight. First and foremost, want to point that one out there. You lose all of that protection that you normally would have for screwing up when you're in the spotlight position, such as a stream or so on and so forth. So you won't open up that box to begin with constructive criticism from others. But we bash on the ones that call out the obvious. I mean, and then the other thing that I'm seeing is a lot of people were just idolizing the people that won when it's very obvious that their opponent threw the game. That doesn't sit well with me personally. I'm not saying these individuals, Jason or anybody else like that, are not good players. Obviously, they got to where they got, and that's fantastic. Congratulations to all of them. First and foremost, I want to say that. Congratulations to every single one of you that did well at Nats. But the reality is, we need to stop congratulating people for silly things like that. It's not looking good across other card games, you know. It's like, okay, for Pokemon, prime example, Torreclip. If he were to do that, you really think he's not going to have negative backlash from the community? Another person, Christopher and Alex Shermansky. I know them personally. If they were to do that, that'd be horrible. Andrew Mahomes, Azul Garcia Guerrero, so on and so forth. Jeff Jones, list goes on. If they were to do that, do you really think the community is not going to really hit on them like, hey, why'd you do that? You had game. Why? Or you could have done better. Why'd you do that to yourself? No, and that's why we're in our infancy of competitiveness in Union Arena still. We have to grow and blossom as a community and accept constructive criticism for us to last. I want to see this game do phenomenal. And that's going to take constructive criticism. That's going to take people actually getting into their head that you can't throw games every day. I understand if you're at your local level or whatever, or playtesting for friends. Yeah, mistakes do happen. And you know, we're human. We make mistakes even on the big stages. However, purposely making mistakes is another thing. That is where you leave that at your local game store or playtesting with your buddies to see how those interactions would go, possibly. Or maybe, hey, you know, your buddy next to you here is trying to do well. Integrity of the game. Integrity of the game, plain and simple, when you're at those bigger stage levels. You throw integrity out when you do that. So yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, I just think we need to open up a little bit more and call out things like that. Constructive criticism is never bad. It's always good because it only makes these players be better for next time. And with that, the UA Playbook is signing out.